All right, what's up back? Welcome back to the channel, everybody. So Bitcoin lost support, broke the 50. Now we're seeing downside continuation. It's not the direction we originally wanted it to go, but at least now we have a direction. I absolutely hate sideways choppy price action. Makes it literally impossible to get positioned, or it just makes it difficult to trade. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty clear as to what we're doing here. As I've told my community yesterday, so yesterday we were pretty bearish right off the rip. And I mean, as of this point in time, that trend is continuing. As you can clearly see here, today is Thursday, so we are getting near the end of the week. But you are heading lower. As you broke back under MicroStrategy's cost basis, you have taken out yesterday's low. You're currently trading at the low of day today. So, I mean, there really isn't a whole lot of reasons to be bullish. If we go take a look at oil real quick, oil actually popped up yesterday instead of getting downside continuation. Today is setting up for a potential buy here, because you have a higher low here as of right now. There really isn't a great short setup on it. I mean, we anticipated that the Middle East would be winding down, and yet that doesn't seem to be what the news is reporting, as the US has already started strikes again or whatever. That literally caused oil to pop yesterday. That helped Bitcoin roll over. So obviously the macro backdrop is such to where price just does not want to be bullish, even a little bit. The reason that we're concerned is, well, we're not really concerned, because, I mean, we don't have to just be long. That's the benefit of perpetual swap futures. We can absolutely get short, and that's what we did, or that's what I did yesterday. I am not in a continuation trade here. Instead of getting short Bitcoin, we opted to short Pingu instead. The trade setup that we got yesterday wasn't a perfect setup, but it was a decent setup. Unfortunately, I took profits when it pushed down into the day low and then moved my stop to break even. And since my entry was right here at this prior 4-hour swing, when price pushed back up right here, it took me out of the trade. And then 8 hours later, the downside break happened. But I mean, it was easy to see which direction we wanted to be positioned. So, and that direction remains. Bitcoin has done absolutely nothing to make me potentially look for a leveraged long trade, right? Now, I own Bitcoin. I don't want anybody to freak out and think that I've sold my Bitcoin and then I've jumped into the bear case, because I haven't. We are seeing a downside push and we are seeing volatility expand, but volatility is not expanding in a way that would have me just flat out bearish looking for fresh year lows, right? But we have lost major support. This support is so major, it literally took 10 days to break it, right? That is the problem. And we're going to discuss that in full today. So that way, if we ever get back into a scenario like this, instead of being long and missing out on the short, I'm going to give you a couple tips that you can keep your eyes on to help you kind of jump in front of it and catch the move to the downside instead. But anyway, obviously here on Monday, testing the daily 21 and not breaking out and closing above, although it isn't a failure signal, it definitely isn't an upside continuation signal either. As of, obviously we want to see a close above it. The next day gave you that higher daily high. This was the day that we were long on the live stream for the public. This day was the day that obviously signaled you were not going to see higher prices. Simply by watching the prior day high, we kind of did not like the price action. We almost Once that move up happened and then the big downside candle came back, that's pretty much when we knew we were going to be stopped out. But that is also what allowed us to get short the next day, right? So instead of trying to buy the lows, instead of forcing the long here because your bias is making you look for longs, you need to be able to shift your bias. Otherwise, you're going to try to catch every single swing low instead of just simply positioning for the short. But anyway, you got a bearish engulfing candle there. Let's go into the intraday time frame real quick, just so you can see how easy it is to realize you're not getting continuation. If this is the prior day high, this is the upside target for longs, for intraday traders. This is what we do. We target day highs when we're long, and we target day lows when we're short. And you can see right here, you did get a 30-minute close above. So in a sense, and since this is your range expansion, it happened in 1 hour. It took 2 candles, 1, 2. Range expansion is happening to the upside. So if you were going to see upside trend continuation, then this candle's low should have been respected. The fact that you came all the way back down and took out and closed below that low, that should have been your key indicator right there that the long side trade was not the right trade. All right. We pretty much knew at this point that we were done, that the long was most likely not going to work out. And it's disheartening, to say the least, when that happens. That's never going to change. I mean, we like to make money, we're humans. And since our entire economy is wrapped around, money, obviously it hurts also being on the wrong side. But the money that we lost on Tuesday was simply made back times 3 on Wednesday. All right. So that's, beautiful, beautiful intraday price action here, showing you trend reversal. Now, this was done on news, so usually we don't want to really focus too much on the news. But once you made a fresh day low, which happened just 2 candles later right here, you should have been done trying to look for longs. Then when you made a fresh weekly low, it should have really, at some point, you got to stop trying to buy the freaking dip. At some point, you got to let it go, right? Because your directional bias is wrong. Now, the reason we had a long side directional bias on this day was very clean. It was very clear. You traded down into the 50, and the 50 was that last moving average that we were keeping our eyes on. It was the last line in the sand for the bulls to be able to say, yes, we are here, and yes, we have taken back control of this product. You tested it on Sunday, May 17th, for the first time. It wasn't until the 26th. So on the 27th, that's 10 days. It took 10 days for this to play out. That's a long, long time. So the one thing that I focused on that I really hated about all this was this asset here. It's the DVOL. This is your Bitcoin Volatility Index, and the exchange is on Durbit. So no longer do we have to look at the S&P Volatility Index to try to get a decent sign as to what Bitcoin is doing. We can now focus purely on the index. This index is on Durbit. Durbit is also one of the premier options platforms for Bitcoin. They offer options. I don't trade options on Bitcoin, but anyways, notice how in the same amount of time, I just woke up. That's why there's... All right, notice how in the same amount of time that Bitcoin was testing the 50 right here, price is more sideways to down. So instead of making those higher highs, you're making lower lows, right? In order to make that higher high, you would have had to get up to Thursday's high, get above that to make the higher high. So Price is more sideways to down, whereas the volatility is straight down. So typically we want to see volatility and price trade inverse to one another. So if volatility is going lower and trending lower, price should be trending higher. The simple fact that it could not break out showed us, once again, that the sellers were very aggressive down here at these levels. And that is essentially why we switched our bias. We are price action analysts first. I do own Bitcoin and cold storage, and I am buying Bitcoin while it is in this range. The range that I am focusing on is going to be from February's high up to March's high. So the range looks like this. So as long as, and then the midpoint of that range is that inflection point, this is where value is. All right. Price value for this range is going to be 68K. So 68K is in a sense where I'm buying. So even if we make fresh lows, I'll be a buyer. Like I'm going to be a buyer all the way down. I've already made up my mind and already structured it to where I can get all of the Bitcoin that I want in this lower move. So I'm not really hating the lower move, but obviously I'm more of a optimist than a pessimist, because most of these markets usually trend up, not down. Though pessimists make money when you're in a bear market. Optimists make money when you're in a bull market. So right now, obviously, with prices heading lower, breaking support, holding resistance, and then breaking support, that's the most important part of that sentence. You don't need to flip and be a pessimist. We buy in those opportunities. All right, get off. Thank you. All right, let's delete that. But anyways, yeah, I will buy at 68, then 58, then 48. If it breaks down, I don't think it's going to break down. There is potential to make fresh year lows, but you're still a long ways away from that. But anyways, price is king. Price is king. Price is always going to tell you what is happening. And even if it isn't, right? Because I hear a lot of people say you can't look at price because price is too chaotic. It is too chaotic on an intraday basis. It is a little chaotic on an intra-week basis. I think, but on an intra-month basis, it does a really good job of showing us what's going on. And I'm going to show you why I'm not all out bearish just yet here in a minute. But anyways, I want to continue on this path for a second. So yeah, I mean, 68K, that's essentially going to be value. Price is not breaking down and giving us these massive downside breaks. Like you're not seeing day after day 3, 4, and 5% down moves. When that happens, then obviously volatility will be kicking up a lot more. Then the ranges will get bigger. Then you'll see more and more fear. More and more fear leads to more and more capitulation style selling. So this could just be getting started. It could find support at any random price. That is not our job. Our job as traders is not to try to predict where the market is going to make a reversal. We are trend followers 90% of the time. When you're in a big range for a long time, you can be premium sellers. I'm okay with that as well. And that's obviously the time that you should be selling premium. But at the same time, I am an optimist long term, so obviously I'm going to be buying the dip. Getting short on the futures and buying puts is literally how I protect that long portfolio. So if Bitcoin does break down and head to zero, then I will lose money because my portfolio is positioned or skewed more to upside convexity. This way, if Bitcoin breaks down, I will lose money, but it'll be a very small amount of money because the money that I make on the shorts will cover the money that I lose on the longs. It won't cover it 100% because it's a hedge. I don't have a bearish bias for the long term. If I had a bearish bias for the long term, I would only be short Bitcoin. I wouldn't be long at all. I wouldn't have any cold storage or anything like that. But I know that Bitcoin eventually will break this range and will break out to the upside. It's just a matter of time. Things that we discussed yesterday as to the reason why Bitcoin is failing to break out is going to be the USDJPY. That's my opinion. That's my take. The reason that you're not seeing Bitcoin break out is because people or professionals are not shorting the USDJPY. You need dollar weakness, or you at least need Bitcoin to be stronger than the dollar, because Bitcoin is traded versus the dollar. So like, for instance, if you go look at Bitcoin versus weak currency, the Iranian, whatever the Iranian dollar is, for instance, Bitcoin's probably trading at $1 million. It's probably up. It's probably going higher, right? But when you're trading against the dollar, then the dollar strength or weakness is going to carry on into this chart. So the dollar it's not been super strong, but at the same time, it hasn't been able to break out either. And this is because you really don't have any people that want to really take that dollar short positioning. Now, they can short dollar in other ways, but there's no point in shorting the dollar if you're not going to get rate cuts. We also have so first and foremost, the Japanese yen is super expensive, or it is very expensive to hold shorts on USDJPY right now, which is why the USDJPY is just trending higher. So this is going to continue to put upside pressure on the dollar. Even though the BOJ has intervened, you are not seeing a downside trending move play out on this asset. And it hasn't been playing out for a very, very long time. It's just grinding slowly higher over time because it pays more on the carry trade to hold it long. So like, it doesn't make sense for me as an investor / trader to try to pay a lot of money to short an asset when I can just sit in it long and hold it and generate revenues or generate an income just because the yield spread is so wide, right? So until we get rate cuts in the USD or rate hikes in the BOJ, you're going to be hard pressed to find any serious sell side pressure on this, or until the BOJ intervenes to an extent that you get a large trending move out of this. Now, like I said, they can participate in dollar using other pairs, which is what they're doing. Like I said, you can short euro, or you can be short the dollar by being long euros, or being long pound, or being long Canadian dollars. There are several other ways to get short dollar. But if there aren't any rate cuts coming, and if rate hikes are instead coming, then investors are going to be very slow to build in those macro style positions, or those big positions that cause macro style moves, or those larger trending moves. So a huge reason why Bitcoin is unable to break out is because of the dollar. Now you're seeing the dollar is weak today, or at least down, and Bitcoin is down too. So what gives? Well, you likely won't see that correlation stay longer than just a day or three. Like 2 or 3 days, you might have a strong Bitcoin to dollar correlation where dollar is weak, but because Bitcoin is weaker, they both go down. Like I said, it's a pair trade. So the other currency will have effect on this one. So in a sense, we need Bitcoin to be stronger than the dollar for it to break out, sustain the breakout, hold the rally, continue to rip. Bitcoin must become stronger than the dollar. And obviously, investors are not ready. The BIP 110 drama is still out there. There's supposed to be resolution in and around September. I don't know that we will get resolution in and around September. I do know that more and more node runners are flipping to BIP 110. BIP 110 is going to change how much, or, you know, whether or not you can store digital images on the Bitcoin blockchain. And obviously there are people out there that think you should not be able to do that, or at least the file size should be small. If you know, instead of just outright changing the code completely, make it to where the file size isn't so large. I don't care one way or the other. I obviously don't like that they're doing it in a bear market, but to be fair, they started doing this way back last year. They started doing this before Bitcoin ever even went into a bear market, which was what led me to believe that most likely that was the drama that kicked off the bear market more than just 4-year cycle. However, Bitcoin has stayed true to the 4-year cycle for its entire life. So it makes sense that you have a pretty sizable code change taking place or going to take place. And then on top of that 4-year cycle, that's a good enough reason to cause those long-term hodlers to take profits, which is what sparked the initial take profit. Once we got the tariff news on 10/10, you liquidated almost $20 billion worth Bitcoin longs. $20 billion is a lot of money to lose. That's what you lost on 10/10. And because it never came back, Bitcoin rolled over, repriced much, much lower. I'd say about $20 billion worth. So we kind of need that money to come back. Michael Saylor can't do it on his own, obviously. Has he invested $20 billion since then? No. No, he has not. But at the same time, even if he did, there's no guarantee that Bitcoin would reprice back up to those prices because you have retail selling. Strategy is a very small amount of what happens on a normal Bitcoin day. But let's go down, break it down on an intraday basis. So obviously I'm not looking for a short right here. I cannot and never will ever be a breakdown seller, ever. Especially when volatility is weak or trending lower. So right now you've got 3 days of upside on vol. And I mean, this is your long-term lows down here. So it makes sense that you are seeing a bounce from here. It's literally what the VIX does too. Anytime the VIX gets near a key support zone, it bounces and the S&P pulls back. It's standard market moves. Like it's completely standard and normal. And are we seeing a very standard and normal vol spike? Yes, absolutely. You're getting a bounce at support. You're right now testing the 21-day exponential. So at this point in time, the trend has not changed, but the bounce is a little bit more aggressive or stronger than one would like. But at the same time, all markets are mean reverting. So where are we going to, like, what's the, anything above the 50, then we're going to start to get worried. But if it's just small daily ranges, we're not. Remember, it's the spike, the aggressive spikes. Those are what we don't want to see. But I have a near-term bearish bias, so it doesn't really matter. Doesn't really matter. If price wants to go lower, we're going to be looking for shorts. The problem is where price is. If price was up here at 74,298, we wouldn't be having this conversation. We would be putting on a short right this moment in time. But we're not up there. We're down here making a fresh day low. So if the dollar does continue to break down today for whatever reason, then I would assume that Bitcoin probably spends the majority of today correcting. All right. But if the dollar doesn't break down today, if the dollar finds support here or higher, because this is the bottom side of the range, this is where the dollar has to break down before you can say this range is resolving to the downside. As of right now, it's still, you have done nothing since Friday, May the 15th. Absolutely nothing. You're still trading at the same price that you were on this day. This is unchanged price action for 13 days. Unchanged. So boring. So we can't say that the dollar is breaking down. We can say it's down, but it's not broken down. It isn't breaking down. Bitcoin has broken down. It has lost key support structure. It is trending lower. You are making fresh weekly lows, fresh multi-week lows. Boom, boom, boom. So right now we're setting on fresh 3-week lows on Bitcoin. Not great news, not terrible news either. Lower prices are going to prompt people to buy. It's just a matter of time. But I don't want to try to predict where that's going to be. So we have to go look elsewhere for that trade. That now that the market is open, since it's 9:30, everything is on the lows. Like I said, I'm not a breakdown trader. I need a pullback. I need a pullback into resistance, so that way I can get short, or at a bare minimum, look for a key level of resistance to mitigate risk at. My job is to close the week out green every single week. Last week was a red week for me. No matter what, this week, it will be a green week. That is all I need to do week over week. As long as I stay consistent doing that, I can stay retired, or, don't have to work for somebody else. But anyways, yeah, I mean, there's no trade on Bonk either. There's going to be no trade on Pingu either. Pingu was a nice breakdown. If you just look from where my short entry was yesterday, had I been able to capture this downside break yesterday, the position would be up over 8%, or the trade would be up over 8%. So it kind of bums me out, because not only did I miss that one, I also missed this one, the original breakdown right in here, when it gave us an opportunity right here midweek. So this is our weekly VWAP. So we want to look for positions in and around that, but at objective levels. So the first place to look for shorts on a retest of the VWAP would have been here. Clearly you would have been stopped out of that short. The secondary place to look for shorts in and around the VWAP would have been right there. So that's the trade I missed. Had I not missed that, then obviously I would still be in it, because this trade broke down and gave you instant continuation lower and never came back. So this position would still be open up here. This is why I know what I do works long term. I'm not cherry picking. This is how I trade. Right? But yeah, so I missed that this week. But I mean, you can see how stretched out price is from the average. Mean reversion is real. I don't know that it's going to retest the weekly VWAP, but I do know at some point there will be a mean reversion. Once that mean reversion happens, then I can look to get positioned. I can't do anything until that happens. If there is, because I'm not short does not mean that I need to get long. And I think retail does that a lot. I think because they miss the right direction, so now they have to try to get positioned in the opposite direction, because that's the only trade to take. Right? You can't get short for a breakdown, then you got to buy it. No, you do not. No, you do not. You sit on your hands and you wait for price to come to you. But anyways, looking at this on a weekly time frame, it looks really good for more downside price action. So going forward next week, I will be bearish on Pingu as high as 8,961. Now, like I said, we already caught the short on Pingu on 1010, where it lost 80% of its value in one day. That was a flash crash that occurred. That's why there was so much liquidations in and around Bitcoin, and nothing in the crypto market has regained. I mean, there's a few, right? Zcash, it's recaptured, regained its where it was 1010, but the majority of them have not. The majority of crypto assets have not been able to get any solid footing since 1010. because so many people were liquidated. And for some, that was the last straw. They left and went to Kalshi and Poly Markets and all the betting websites. Because we've seen those volumes grow massively. Meanwhile, we've seen volumes shrink in the crypto exchanges. So it's fine with me if they want to go over there. It's not, I mean, I don't think it's going to help, but we'll see. Long term, I bet the odds remain the same. Long term, you got to build money over time. Zcash has since pulled back. Shocker. It's been pulling back for a few days now. XMR was another one that we were watching for the short, and we were willing to take the short at weekly open. This one, once again, another one that I missed. That is absolutely playing out though. But if you were watching me on Tuesday, you know this one was on the top of my list to look for shorts at and around the week open. This one was a difficult trade, especially yesterday, because it grinded way up above prior highs, and then it built in a very long sideways consolidation. But ultimately, May's VWAP held, as you could not see a trending move above. It's not a wick above that we wait or watch. We don't care about wicks. What we want to see is higher highs and higher lows above the average. That's when you have a breakout. So like this candle could have closed negative. This candle needed to stay above this candle's low, and in fact needed to take out that candle's high for us to say, okay, never mind, this is breaking out. It never did break out. So you could have been short yesterday at the VWAP and using the day high as stop loss mitigation. I missed it, so I'm assuming most of you did too, right? It is what it is. That's not what I do. I don't call out trades. That's why I don't call out trades, because it isn't what I do. My job is to teach you what to look for, how to do this, so that way if something ever happens to me, you're good. You don't need anybody else. You're fine. You know what you're looking for. You know what you're doing. You know how to mitigate risk. That literally means that you now have the keys to the trading castle. You can mitigate or manage your own money. You don't need other people to manage your money. AI is going to destroy that industry. Money managers are going to be very few and far between in the future when AI takes over. AI will absolutely take those jobs away. So it's good. Right now is a fantastic time to learn how to manage your money. It's the best time. Learn how to become a trader, investor. It's the same thing. Something that does separate investing from trading is obviously time frame. That is it. Investors buy and hold and for long periods of time, whereas traders are generally more quicker. They're looking, to time the market. It's not the better strategy. Some people will be better off to just be buy and hold long term. If you your personality will dictate, if you're a very undisciplined person and very impatient, you will not make a very good trader. Unfortunately, that's just the way it works. But if you are a very disciplined person and you can absolutely be patient and wait for the perfect setups, then you do have what it takes. We'll see what happens with this, but I mean, you've missed the move. This would have obviously been the trade. It looks fantastic. It looks like, wow, this was the best short on the week. But, well, I guess at this point it is 11%. That candle gave it to you. Yeah, you do. That is going to be an 11% move inside of a week. That's a fantastic trade. Really, really pissed off that I missed that one as well. Yeah, it sucks, but I'm up on the week, and that's my only goal. My goal isn't to catch every single big move. It's to close the week out green. S&P is pulling back slightly today as well. The VIX is, well, that daily candle is lying to me. The VIX is currently at 1637 on the lows, so this S&P pullback probably doesn't last long if the VIX breaks down under that close of 1629. So if you break under 1629 and you get a continuation style move, the S&P is most likely going to find support here. So let's look at something else, like Nvidia, for instance. What do we think here on Nvidia? Yesterday we looked at Nvidia. We liked Nvidia, but we wanted to see Nvidia gap up today. We wanted to see Nvidia gap up above yesterday's high. If that would have happened, we would have been looking for longs right now. Because it did not gap up above, it's still sussing out resistance. So we can't really do anything here. Not really a trade setup here on Nvidia. Tesla, I like Tesla. It looks good, but it's also at the top of a range. But it does look good. Obviously, the best place to buy Tesla was here last week. We decided that was going to be the best place to get involved in Tesla back then. Since then, it's just been upside continuation. So there really is no trade there. The only way I could get long Tesla today is if it just liquidates yesterday's low and immediately stops going lower. As long as you're trading under this, though, I would not be looking for a scalp to the upside. Because you're at the top of the range. Top of the range is typically resistance. Dollar is pulling back on a 4-hour time frame pretty good still, and oil is finding a bit of resistance. So oil could be a sell maybe. I don't like the POC. The deltas look fine to take a short side position on oil, but obviously the short side position would have been right there at resistance. Yeah. I don't really love this for the short. I mean, long term, I do think oil goes lower, but until they come to resolution in the Middle East, this can trade sideways and choppy. So there really isn't a clean setup here. ICP was one that we were watching yesterday to see if bullish continuation could continue, or bullish momentum could continue. Clearly it couldn't, as it is down. This is one of the main reasons why I don't like buying the big breakout movers on crypto, because those usually the breakouts don't last very long. So we were just simply watching these lows, and if at any point price broke below them, we were going to leave it alone. Price broke below them right here, so we left it alone. And it's a good thing we did. It's a good thing we weren't trying to buy every single wick low. And most of your crypto watch list is nasty over here. So we're going to have to find a stock, most likely, to get involved with, as I can't be a Bitcoin buyer here or for the scalp trade when it's clearly trending lower. It's trying to break down here for another downside push. It's getting, I mean, it's probably oversold, right? So we definitely don't want to be looking for fresh shorts. We need this indicator to pull back off of the extreme regions so we can get positioned for shorts later on in the future. If you have a trade idea or a setup that you want to look at, post it in the chat. We will take a look at it, because I can't catch them all. Not a lot of people in here, so everybody's bummed out that Bitcoin broke down. I get it. I understand. But that's the beauty of being a trader. You don't get married to a bias. You're a price action analyst. It's the best kind of analyst to be, in my opinion. If you're going to put on risk, you got to have some way of mitigating it. Alrighty, righty. Yeah, I still don't like this for the short. I can't do anything on Forex until we get at least some kind of a move on the dollar. I mean, at this point, I would settle for a 2-day trend. A 2-day trend. Come on, dollar. You can do it for us. Let's go look at Apple. Apple is just trending beautifully to the upside. Microsoft is about to break out, probably. Right there, 433.70 is going to be the breakout area. I can't do anything with it right now today. But I am interested in potentially getting long for the breakout. So maybe if we pull back to 415.94, pull back to 415.94 intraday today, if that area can hold, that'd be a deep correction now. But it doesn't matter. If it pulls back to 415.94, I'm going to move my alert a little bit higher than that level because I have a bad habit of price coming right down to my alert and then moving away from it. I never get it. So move it above the level that I'm interested in, and then we'll see what it does. If it pulls back intraday or gaps down tomorrow back into this area, as long as that area holds as support, I'll be interested in getting long. And then, like I said, I want to get long before the breakout happens because I want to be scaling out as the breakout is happening. And then I want to keep some long term because I do think that Microsoft will benefit from the AI trade eventually. Microsoft is a good company. They make money. They print money. They're in the top 3 of world's largest companies. So yeah, I definitely want to get involved in this before the breakout happens. Clearly, the sellers have not been able to get any kind of downside break. So if it can't go down, it's probably going to go up. You've been pulled back here for a long time this year. Obviously, weekly oversold is the best time to get involved in long-term buy and hold trades, especially on uptrending assets. So the time to buy was a long time ago. But for the scalp and breakout play, we can get positioned in the range eventually. We just need a good area to mitigate that risk. So let's move on. We looked at NVIDIA. Amazon's pulling back. So Amazon, NVIDIA, Google, and Oracle, and Meta are the big hyperscalers. Microsoft is also in there, but they're going to make money because of cloud storage. And other reasons, obviously. But let's see here. Avgo still looks good. Intel is just, there's nothing to do with that. Netflix is interesting to me here, as you've been trading at weekly support, and it looks to be holding even on an intraday basis here. And I can buy Netflix. Damn, not many people are trading Netflix on weeks. Well, I don't know that I do want to get involved with this. This is going to be weekly support. As long as we're trading above this price, I will be more than okay with holding along. Under it, not so much, because under it, you're breaking down and trending lower. We're going to give it a little bit of time here to see if it wants to hold as support. We can watch 30-minute closes, like I said yesterday or earlier, how XMR was holding on a 30-minute basis. It was closing above the level, so we're fine with it closing below our level. We just don't want to see it trending. So it can close below. But we don't want to see lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high. We don't want to see that. That's trending. It's trending, then our level is not holding as support. It's easy as that. Also, the sellers have the con. So the sellers are more aggressive today on Netflix. Sellers are the aggressors on probably everything today. We don't want to buy AMD anyways. AMD has literally been, it needs to pull back. LRCX, SCHG, all of these things are just absolutely insane. MicroStrategy's getting beat up again. No bueno. Coinbase lost support, heading lower, 177.62. Not good. Not good. That's the area you wanted to see hold. It isn't holding. Palantir, another one that I love long term for the buy and hold, and I love the way what it's doing here today. It looks fine. It looks like it wants to break down. I get it. It does, but it is holding support. If it can continue to make higher low support, or if it breaks down below this trend line for a day and then goes back up above it, like if it puts in a bear trap under this little trend line, then maybe that is the day to get involved. Could be the day to get involved right now. I mean, I am not a breakout buyer, and you're right into resistance. This is daily res. It's been holding for some time. There's no way I want to buy it just because it's above yesterday's high right yet. But obviously, this thing has already made a huge move today on the open. I like this long term. I think this is going to break out. I think it is going to start a trend. I think you're going to see a breakout eventually above all-time highs. Because of AI. This one not looking good. Reddit holding support. I don't know what DFDV is, so I don't really care. Hood is also trying to hold support. I think Robinhood, if Bitcoin breaks down and heads much lower, I think Robinhood will ultimately break down. They own a lot of Bitcoin, so their clientele can trade Bitcoin. I don't know if they own enough Bitcoin to trade like that, but we'll see long term. Looks good. It's holding support. It needs to continue to do that. Longer term support is much lower. So I'm not really seeing anything here on Hood either. IBM is rocketing to the upside. This one is supposed to be, I guess, Trump mentioned last week that they're going to invest in IBM. If the U.S. government is going to invest in a company, it's probably a good company to buy. As the last time Donald Trump said that they were going to invest in a company, that was this company. And you can see what has happened since. Now, I'm not saying that IBM is going to do this, obviously. The conditions were just ripe for a short squeeze on this one. But longer term, I mean, could be a good one to own because you know that the U.S. government is investing in it. So, yeah, this one might be a good one to put on a long-term buy and hold portfolio. Dell also ripping to all-time highs. Costco was interesting because we were looking for the breakout on it a couple weeks ago. We ultimately got the move we were looking for, but then it came right back. I never like to see this pattern. But to be fair, Tesla did that exact same thing and still found support. Right? I never like to see a big move higher and then a quick snap back to support. But I mean, it did ultimately hold. It's probably going to be in price discovery for here for a little while. But this, I don't really love it. Costco is not an AI play. It's just they make money. We'll see if it what does it do here on the daily time frame. If it starts to trend lower under the 50, then you've lost your strong trend. It's still holding the trend on the weekly. Well, that's the pattern we want to see continue. It looks like their investors are keeping an eye on the 100. I don't care about the 100 that much, but I mean, yeah, I don't know. It's not something. It's like trying to catch a falling knife. It did gap up. This could just be a pullback, but yeah, I'm not exactly sure what transpired there. Breakout and instant rejection. I typically don't like that. DSM. Rocking JD.com getting killed. This is because China's stock market is getting killed. JD.com is a Chinese business. Walmart also suffering a little bit on earnings. So this is what a lot of macro analysts, Walmart's the reason a lot of macro analysts are saying that retail is not good, or, you know, the consumer is not good. I don't like Walmart. It's too slow for me. MU still ripping. Lockheed Martin, kind of interesting down here. Huge upside gap to fill. I could have an upside target of 555. This is generally a bearish pattern for me when you slowly drift higher like that. Because when I see this, I'm constantly worried about a big downside break. And this looks perfect for that. All right. Bitcoin has still, did it make that lower low? 653. Yeah, it made the lower low, 632. It makes sense. USD JPY has got a bullish 4-hour engulfing candle right now. It looks like it wants to go higher. Not quite an engulfing, but it's pretty damn close. Oil still holding support. Yeah, this would be more of a buying opportunity. If the deltas can get back above positive and start to trend, I would probably say look out above. Although you're red on the week, and there is something that can be said for that, right? Wait a minute. Why does this say the weekly open is all the way up there? When looking at it on... This is Monday. This is the weekly open. Oh, right there. Got it. Okay, good. It's mostly sideways. with downside pressure. Okay. Yeah, I can only look for shorts at the week open. Or technically, I could hypothetically try a short scalp if it liquidates this swing high and rejects. So we might keep our eyes on oil here. I don't love it for a short because the POC is underpriced. I always want the POC above price and price trending lower for the short. But it's going to be difficult to just short it right here. This would be a better short. I don't love a short idea. I mean, I do long term, but today there's no signal. Since we're over here looking at this, we might as well look at the CME Fed Watch to see if rate hikes have been priced in higher or lower. Now, I'm looking all the way out to December. That is many, many days. That's 6 months away. Right now, the market's having a difficult time pricing in what's going to happen in 30 days, let alone 6 months. So first and foremost, let's keep that. Yes, the market is pricing in rate hikes. But if Kevin Warsh comes out next month and says something different, then obviously this will drop. So we're basically just going to have to wait for him to speak. He speaks on June the 17th. But I mean, if you go further out, if you go like out to July 2027, rate hikes is the higher probability. So the markets are pricing in rate hikes. Rate hikes would be bullish for US dollar. Huge on, he's not going to do anything on that Fed meeting. I didn't see any US Iran news on financial juice. The deltas are negative, so the sellers are the aggressors, but the buyers have taken it right back to neutral, so it's anybody's game. The only thing that I have in terms of directional bias here is when it broke down and made a fresh weekly low, the fresh weekly low was much further away from the week open than the weekly high is. Right? It's a 2% move, 2.72% move to the upside. It's a 4.71% move to the downside. So as long as price is trading under the weekly open and showing signs of slowing down, at least here, then I can put the risk on, right? I can't predict what price will do ever. And because of that, I have to position myself at some point if I think it's going to go lower. So I think this would be the better area to watch, because if it's trending above this, then you're going to be getting back to the week open, and there's no point in even trying. Because at that point, you will be trending above the VWAP. Volume weighted average price is a VWAP for anybody that doesn't know. Volume weighted average price. And this is tagged to the weekly open. So because price is below this indicator for right now, it suggests that the volume for this week has been heavier skewed to the sell side. Also, the 4-hour setup is a sell. Like if we just look at 4-hour time frame and look at the moving averages, it's a sell. Death cross. But we know that it can go all the way back to here and still fit nicely in that context. Remember, over the weekend, I made a post on Twitter stating the exact same thing on Bitcoin. The sellers took back control, the 4-hour structure. For the bears to continue to hold it, they needed to see price stay under. That, where was that? Whoa, whoa, whoa. We're way too far away. Right here. Okay, so there's the post. Made 4-hour death cross yesterday, back up to the 200 today. If the bears are right, it should fail here. Notice where price is at that time. It's right here, guys. And it failed. Put in that one last screw you to the near-term sellers and then blew down. So this is what I was talking about. This exact structure. You have to be more of a seller when you have that. When you get your sell signal, which happened right here, that's a death cross. So any pullback into the 200, this is going to be the selling region. In the future, on this time frame. Very simplistic analysis that works consistently. People don't like it though. Wrong with people. What's so wrong with you? All right, anything else? I don't see anything else. Rocket Labs is obviously on fire. Yeah, there's really nothing there. All right, let me read these questions. Good morning, good morning, good mornings. What's up, everybody? Can you look at Junior Miners ETF, GDXJ? Sure, I guess. I mean, I've never traded this. For a short at daily supply. Setting up for further downside. I like looking for further downside. I mean, it's right at support. I mean, like literally into support here. So I do not love the placement for the trade. I don't think you're going to come all the way back to 120, but I would wait for 120 and then, I mean, if you can't get back up to 120, at least wait for 118 and then be a seller. I think being a seller right here, right now is a very aggressive short trade. Very aggressive. Because think about it. If you look at this thing on a daily or a 3-day, well, for a week, sorry, You look at this thing on a weekly basis, all right, you're into support. So just a pullback up to last week's open, if support holds, would put you back up to 118. So you're trying to take a short on the low of week at the end of the week. I'm not yelling at you. I'm trying to help you see what I see. This will keep you out of really bad ideas, right? Now, obviously I can't and don't know what will happen. It could break down from here, yes. But clearly this would be a better opportunity anyways. As if you're right and the sellers are in control, which I think they are, I think you're right. I think your directional bias is good. I like it. I like it a lot. This is a bullish engulfing candle at support. Well, it happened well under support, but still. And then the very next week, you should have saw upside continuation, but it failed. And then you broke back down, and then boom. So this was a trap. This is called a bull trap. And now the sellers have control. So you want to see that continue to be the case in the future. So good eyes. I think you're right on direction. You're early. You got to be patient and wait for the setup to come. At a bare minimum, I would want to see a liquidation above this key 3-day swing high. If it can fail there, then I can sell it and aim for 110 as a profit target. It could get right back up here in today. I mean, I doubt it will, because that's not like this thing. You can see how it moves. The big moves happen post and pre-market. When you have normal trading volumes, it doesn't really do shit. It doesn't do anything. When the New York session is rolling, the trending move seems to happen pre and post market. Is GDX. No. Okay, never mind. So this is not traded on weeks. Yeah, I think this is the best place to watch for the short myself. That's what I would do. I would not take the short right here, right now. I would simply wait for a 118 test or see what it does at 116.73. If it shows signs of failure there, then yeah, I'd be... This bitch, man. You got to be shitting me. Got to be shitting me, dude. It's been a rough couple of weeks for me. I don't like sideways markets. Did I say that yet? If I haven't said that yet, I want to make sure that you guys understand to the extent at which I hate sideways markets. And because I'm mostly a Forex crypto guy, the dollar is sideways, and it's really pissing me off. I'm an options guy too. I just haven't been shorting premium, and I should have been. I should have been selling premiums for a long time. So annoying. I was literally going to short it here 30 minutes ago. That's a 3.5% move. That's an absolute profit target trade. That would have been one and done real quick, real simple today. Jesus, you gotta be kidding me. This is probably gonna be a headline news item. Let's go see. I don't have my other... Where's this at? I don't have my other platform pulled up, so I don't have real-time news alerts. I do have them, but I just don't have the platform pulled up. U.S. and Iran reach deal, but Trump's final approval. Axios. We have seen this freaking headline multiple times. U.S. and Iran reach agreement in 60-day MOU to extend truce. Deal needs Trump's final approval. Of course he's going to refuse it. If they still want nuclear weapons, it's not going to happen. But chances are it's going to go lower anyway. We knew we wanted to be selling it. That sucks. That really sucks. I thought I had at least another 30 minutes. I thought for sure it was going to liquidate that swing high. I shouldn't have even have done it. I should have just sold. Should have just sold 30-minute res. We would have been right there. We would have been short right there. 91.29. Oh well, whatever. Yeah, GDX, I like it lower. Just watch 116.73, 118.97. You're going to miss trades. Sometimes they're going to go without you. There's nothing you can do about it. But what I'm saying to you is not wrong. It is not a lie. The obvious better setup is higher. I just can't tell you if it'll even get there. So in that case, I mean, could you short here because you're testing yesterday's close? Yes. You could short it yesterday's open. You could short it at yesterday's high. But just understand, a pullback up to the weekly open and you're getting stopped out. It's that simple. So depending on how many stops you want to eat will dictate where you look to put on risk. I guess. I mean, yeah, I just don't like it right here at support. And you're seeing a bounce today at support. So, I mean, if you were short at the open, you're definitely not winning money right now. You're definitely wrong on direction right now. Oh, it may not get back up there. What does the 5-minute look like? Yeah, the 5 minutes is sell too. I mean, yeah, you could sell that for a downside scalp 112.65, but like I said, just a small pop is gonna stop you out, and the probabilities of that happening are pretty high because it grinded support down here for 30 minutes and then spiked. You haven't made a lower low yet. So the more time that goes on with you staying up near the highs, the probabilities are higher that you make higher high. I mean, it is what it is. It's just not a clean setup. Good morning, Janet. Good morning, Pixel Property. Can you have a look at him's weekly thinking to take a long-term position to have exposure to peptides? The hell are peptides? I guess. I mean, I don't know what peptides are. I've heard Joe Rogan talk about them, but I mean, what is peptides supposedly going to be some like huge technological breakthrough thing? I don't see how that. Isn't peptides have something to do with health? I mean, it's clearly bearish, right? You're under the weekly 200. You're testing that as resistance right now. You need to be back above $31.40. As long as price is under $31.40, you have a strong downtrend. So could you buy down here? The answer is yes. Will it go lower? I have no idea. Probably. I mean, if the trend is your friend, I tell you what you could do, because you're making an advance here on the weekly. I think this will ultimately find resistance, if not here this week, maybe here next week, right? At 2680. But I mean, you could buy 2361 with a stop under that swing low. The trend is against you. You're buying while the trend is down and against you. If you're okay with doing that, then yeah, I guess you can. But a lot of analysts, a lot of investors are going to wait for a buy signal to get involved. So if you kind of remember what I said on Bitcoin, how, brokenhearted I was when we lost the 50, and the reasoning behind that was very simple. Investors watch these averages, regardless if you want to watch them or not, regardless if you believe it or not. There are millions of algorithms programmed literally to buy daily closes above the 50 and to buy weekly closes above the 50, because the 50 is a strong trend indicator. So if Bitcoin could have held the 50 and then started a move higher, that would prompt more demand. That would cause people to be like, this was a support test and it held. Now it is time to buy. So it was a key level of price to watch, and in my opinion, a key time to watch it, because Bitcoin finally resolved above the 50 here, retested it for the very first time since the February lows were put in there, and thus trended higher. It makes sense that people took profits here, and it makes sense that they're not getting involved until price proves one way or the other what it wants to do. So in terms of an investor, not a day trader, but as an investor, you're watching this price. Why did I draw that when I could just simply do this? They're watching this price for either this or this. If you get this, then demand shows up. If you get this, then demand stays on the sidelines. Think about that when looking at this. It's exactly the same. Longer term investors are watching this price. And they want to see, does price get above it and hold, or does it stay under it and go? Because they're not going to get involved. There's no point. So you're trying to call a trend reversal, or assuming the trend is going to reverse. If peptides are that good of a thing, I would assume price would already be pricing that into the market. So it doesn't look terrible, but I mean, it doesn't look great either. If you break under this trend, it's sayonara. It's like, this looks like a bear flag or a bear channel. Right? Not really, but you get what I'm saying. If you lose that, then it's still in a downtrend. It's not done yet. Not done yet. It's like Bitcoin ain't done yet, obviously. Price is our king. If it tells us it's done, it's done. If it isn't, it isn't. I think you need a little bit more time. You need a little bit more conviction from buyers to prove it. But I mean, obviously, if you wait you're gonna miss out on a $10 expansion. Well, not $10 because price is at 25. It'll be a $6 expansion. Long term though, $6 shouldn't mean anything. Bitcoin has not found support yet, which is interesting. It did just liquidate. It'd be interesting to see if the dollar does in fact roll over. If Bitcoin, if this ends up marking the low. But that ain't no reason to buy. So please don't buy. Don't buy Bitcoin just because of that headline. Because Trump could say no. No, they still want nuclear bombs. And the answer is no, they still cannot have them. You know what I mean? It's your money, though. If you want to try to buy this, if you think that's going to be the low, be my guest. A 3-day trend after a clean break like that. Boom, boom, boom. Could have been a shakeout move. It absolutely could have been. I will be back to bullish above 76.5. If when price gets back above that, then I will be bullish again. And also remember, 75.7 is Strategy's cost basis. Don't forget about that. Strategy is a threat to Bitcoin as long as price is under 75.7. I don't think that's going to play out for a very long time, but it absolutely could. They are a threat as long as price is under this. And I told you I would give bearish if price broke back down in there. I'm still a long-term buyer. But for my near-term positioning, I'm looking for sells, not longs. I need some kind of evidence that the bulls have reclaimed Bitcoin. I would have to go all the way to a 5-minute chart. And you don't even have it on a 5-minute chart. You're not even holding the 50 on a 5-minute chart. So kind of, I mean, and I don't put any weight at all on a 5-minute 50 at all. But I mean, until you can hold at least that, I think you should probably chill on trying to be a buyer. Unless it's a long-term hold. If it's a long-term hold, you should be picking some Bitcoin up at $72,000. If you haven't yet. Get some exposure to Bitcoin. And yeah, I mean, this is the area to gain exposure. But for a long trade, no. Not yet. The sellers have momentum, and they have all of the indicators. All of the signals are a sell. All of them. Trying to buy when the sellers have momentum is a dangerous thing. It's just like trying to sell when the buyers have momentum. Like when an asset is overbought at $2 and then for the next 2 weeks proceeds to go on up to $30, even though it's at 99.99. Dangerous game. They don't have huge momentum, but they do have the near-term momentum. The daily 21 test on vol, that would be a fantastic hold if it could hold, but then I need to see price moving up when volatility is moving lower. It's a clean, fresh breakdown. Okay, so long term though, let me show you what this is what I was going to talk about earlier in the video. So long term, if we only look at this data, is this bearish? The answer is no, it is not. So just fib last month's expansion. Are we holding the 50? Yeah. Okay. Well, that's a good sign. If it can hold the 50 long term, that's a good sign. Because last month was an expansion. Last month broke out cleanly above the prior month's high and closed above it. Okay, so that's a two checks in the positive category. So at that point, when this candle closed, you had upside trend for the entire month, and it closed strongly. That's a good sign. So this doesn't look great because the entire month of May, at the beginning of May, you had a move up, you set the monthly high, and then you backed off, came in here and set a fresh monthly low, not once, but twice, as this was your May low. No, that's April. Right here's your May low. So you made a fresh monthly low many times. This was the fresh monthly low. Then this one, now this one. So 1, 2, 3, 4 times you've made fresh monthly lows in the month of May. May's almost over though. So hypothetically speaking, if support would have held here at the 382 of last month's retracement, this would be an aggressive long in terms of the monthly ranges. Because for sellers only be able to push Bitcoin down to the 382 retracement, that is not a very strong bearish move. It is a very aggressive long. But that is exactly where the longs did stand up for the first time. So now those guys are washed out for sure. Using fibs to gauge sentiment and bias is especially on a monthly basis is hard, because we see so many times when monthly candles get completely retraced. But because there's only a few days left on this monthly range, the odds of this ending up as a monthly bearish engulfing are so very low. You've only got 3 days and 10 hours left on this range. So there's a high probability that you're going to close at or around the 50% retracement. If it can close above the 50% retracement, I think that would be a good sign going into June. But you still have the daily moving averages and the weekly moving averages, and those are probably going to trump price, no pun intended, because there are more indicator or more algos programmed to watch the daily and weekly 50s than there are prior month midpoint ranges. But being a price analyst, I do know that in bullish conditions, which the macro backdrop does not really support bullish conditions right now for risk assets. But if it did, I would argue that this would be a good buying opportunity. But you need to let momentum on the near term subside first. You can't really jump in here and buy it like today, right now, because today, right now, momentum is weak. And whenever you have a lot of momentum, the momentum can carry it further than you anticipate. Because the sellers were so aggressive today, this morning, earlier into the session, it could continue to make fresh day lows all day long, is what I'm trying to say. So this may end up being a good level of support to watch for the multi-month position, not for a day trade scalp long. If your anticipations are it will hold this monthly midpoint because the bulls are in control of price and this is just a washout, then clearly you need to see longer term support hold here. And if you start to see that, then you can make that argument that maybe momentum has subsided and now you can put on that long positioning for the multi-month hold. And then clearly your profit target on that swing trade would be just shy of May's high. So in a sense, your swing trade would look like that. You're looking to position in and around this price, and you're looking to take profits in and around that price. Now, like I said, obviously, I have no idea if that's going to play out. So as long as the price is above the 50, if May closes above the 50, then I will start to allow that to creep into my analysis more, but that will be more for next month, not this month. This month, the bears have the momentum. So I definitely want to see how this monthly closes before I get super bullish on that kind of trading strategy alone. There's just so many strategies. So many, too many. But the bears were very aggressive today. Very aggressive. So they could be stuck, but I wouldn't buy it for that. Like, I know that momentum can keep this going much lower today. Just be careful. But long-term Bitcoin still looks okay. It's not bearish, right? A lot of people are saying that it looks pathetic. It looks bad. It's terrible. It's disgusting. Not really. I mean, it's been advancing. Not really for the last part of the month of May, but it was advancing in April. It was advancing in March. Right? So on a 3-month basis, Bitcoin looks fine. It's not a huge bullish expansion, but it definitely looks fine. It's definitely far away from the lows. So the bears have a lot of potential support levels they're going to have to fight through, even though there aren't any moving averages. But we always, in a trending environment, moving averages are going to be crucial. And the sellers can argue that right now in the daily time frame, they are still in control of this asset because of this failed attempt to break out above the 200 and then the losing of the 50 here on the near term. So literally any pullbacks into 76K will be met with selling pressure. And another thing that you've lost on the near term is going to be your short term holder basis or short term realized price. So you held it but couldn't get any bullish momentum above it. You held it for a nice long period of time. Let's see, you broke out above it when? Well, we'll call it right here. Monday, May 4th. And then you lost it on Saturday, May 16th. And then it acted as resistance on May 21st. And then again on May 25th. And you're seeing downside trend continuation now. So that's not great. The only thing that I could say about that would be momentum is not expanding in an aggressive fashion. So that's not bullish, but it ain't outright bearish either. These downside days are pretty consistent with what we saw here on last Friday and what we saw up there, right? The ranges are about the same size, albeit a little smaller than these 2 days. The bears have this asset on the near term. There's no doubt about it. The bulls, for whatever reason, just are not here yet. So be very careful when trying to buy it. Because of that, you're probably going to eat several stops if you're trying to buy Bitcoin right now. It hasn't been easy to be a buyer on Bitcoin even when the bulls were in control. Let's be honest. There were many opportunities that we took longs on Bitcoin when the bulls had control and we were stopped out. So it's very difficult what you guys are trying to achieve. What do you think about selling MSTR cash secured puts? Not a bear market, dude. In a bull market, you want to sell cash secured puts. You understand that, right? In a bear market, you're looking for fresh lows. I understand why you would want to sell cash secured puts. You're willing to take a position at a specific price. I get it. I would only do that once. Tops. Because the whole idea with selling a cash secured put is to generate consistent returns. It isn't to get filled on a position. If that is your whole point, yeah, that's what I want to do. I want to generate revenue until I get filled. Well, then you can do it once. If you do it too many times in a bear market, right? If you get that one off and then you get filled because you're in a bear market and then price continues to break down and you continue to do that, you're going to blow your account. Selling premium is a dangerous game. It does have high probabilities depending on where you're selling and how far out you're selling. The probabilities are high. But market conditions are also very important. You need a very low VIX, which you have a lower VIX right now, but it's still elevated in terms of option premium. Option premium is elevated with a 15 VIX. Selling puts is going to be done or used or better off in a bull market because you want to get filled and then you want to see price move higher. And then you can generate revenues by selling the puts on the months that you don't get filled because it's in a bull market. This is a fresh breakdown on monthly lows, but if you are going to sell put premium, I would sell them 30 days out at about 65. Oh, MicroStrategy, sorry. If you're going to sell premium, I would sell it 30 days out and I would sell it under 117. under 117. Because you still do have the fib to kind of act as support. But you're a little bit deeper here. Remember, MicroStrategy is a levered Bitcoin. Whereas Bitcoin is right now testing the 50. MSTR has already lost it. This is levered up Bitcoin. So it's already massively volatile, almost too volatile to be selling premium. But people do sell people do sell premium on Bitcoin. So yeah, I would do it at under the prior month's low. That's it. 30 days out, under the prior month's low. The bad news is if Bitcoin volatility continues to ramp, which it is currently doing right now would be the best time to do it though. Probably because BVol is potentially testing resistance or DVol. Right? Because you're testing potential resistance. It's very near-term resistance, but still you've had the bounce. So at least you can say that. So if Bitcoin does in fact, if DVol does in fact rotate back down towards the lows, it probably wouldn't today. It would probably be tomorrow if it is going to do that. Would probably be tomorrow. So maybe tomorrow put that position on when DVol is up in here. You've got a long ways to go to make that other liquidation, but you're not going to do that this week. It would be next week. That would be the risk, depending on where, depending on if you're still making a weekly advance. So you do want, if you're going to do that, you do want to do it when it's pulling back, not when it's on highs, because when it just pulling back could literally make you lose. You do not get the premium until the expiration. Some people make it seem as if though you're collecting that premium up front. You do not. Even if your P&L says you do, you don't. You do not collect that premium until the expiration. I see people say that all the time. I'm going to go out here and sell this, and then I'm going to take that money and then go there and buy this. That's what he wants to do, but that isn't what he's doing. Promise you. You don't get that premium until the expiration. And then where price is in relationship to expiration, or in relationship to which strike price you sold, will dictate how much premium you even collect, if any. It's still all based on future price predictions. It's a lot better. That strategy is going to work a lot better when you are consistently testing and holding the 50-day EMA. All right. So, for instance, over here, when you reclaim the 50-day and then as time progressed, you were consistently staying above it. So over and through here on pullbacks, that is when you would have sold put premium and you would have done the same thing. Prior month's low. So you would have been a seller anywhere in through here. Get a couple days of pullback, 2 or 3, it doesn't matter, because you're never going to know when it's going to be the bottom. So you would be selling like $41 strike puts over in here. Over here, still fine. This would have been scary, no doubt, when you broke under that swing low, but getting back above it would have been safe. You would have been safe. You're still good. You're still holding it. You're still holding it as time goes on. As time goes on, right? You're still selling prior month's lows. Once again, that was a scary, scary day for you, but you're still good. You're still good. Still good, still good, still good. So essentially, in an uptrend, you generated all of that put premium. You see how it works better for the long-term, consistent account growth or put premium selling. Whereas if you started selling puts up here, you're going to be like premiums are going to be jacked up huge. They get bigger though as price continues to move lower. So, but I mean, you would have been filled. You would have been filled. You would have taken a massive hit. And your account would be blown, most likely, by then. Because it takes a shitload of margin to do that anyways. I like the strategy when prices either sideways or up. Or sideways to up. Not so much when price is in a downtrend. Basically, this is how I feel about what's happening in the market right now. I think this is probably a washout for aggressive longs, like longs that tried to buy a 236 retracement or a 382 retracement. Those aggressive longs. Because how I approach a day trading strategy is no different than how I would approach a swing trading strategy. It's the same. I analyze price the same way across all time frames. So like if on a day trade scalp on Bitcoin, I'm not trying to be a buyer on a pullback until we get to yesterday's midpoint. Right? Like in this case, I'm a seller because we lost support. We're trending lower. So I would be a seller, correct? Yes. Where would I be a seller? At the prior day's midpoint or the prior day's open? So today, for me to jump on a Bitcoin short, what would I have needed to see? I would have needed to see a pullback into the prior day's midpoint or the prior day's open. Then I would need to see resistance hold. If that happens, then I put on the risk and mitigate my risk with a stop loss. And I target that day's low. Well, we didn't get that because today opened at the lows. So being a seller at yesterday's 236 would have been a very aggressive short, right? Even though price didn't even get there, it would have been a super aggressive short. If you're looking at the 5-minute time frame, so this is the day right here, all the way down to the low, right there. So that means you're literally selling the low of day. All right, so anybody that's sold in here, that is a super aggressive short because they need not only a breakdown, but they need an expansion much lower to even get a fill on a profit target. So if I'm looking for a 2% move in price to generate profits, then if I sell the low of day or shy of the 236 retracement of the prior day, I need price to go all the way to here just to get filled on a profit target. You see how that is putting the odds and the probabilities so far against you. Now, in this scenario, it worked out. Right? It did work out because you were super lucky in when you did it. And you did get trend continuation and almost instantly. So the trade did work. But you can see how aggressive that is. So I approach monthly candles the exact same way. The exact same way. I'm looking for a pullback into the prior month's range, which we are getting right now. So you can see why I could make the argument that this is still a buyable opportunity for sure. Just maybe not today because it's a monthly time frame. We're looking at this in terms of next month or the month after is when we're looking to collect that profit. So we're about to get a new monthly open, and we did get the pullback. So if you are going to see a 3-bar pattern, this is a 3-bar pattern here. Let me make it green so that way you guys know that I mean up. And it's up. And if I am looking for that retracement to the midpoint, then you get a wick here, right? Up. Candle opens here. You get that monthly pullback into the midpoint. And then what we want to see would be a wick, an open, and that expansion up to profit target. That is what I'm talking about. That's a 3-bar pattern right there, and you are doing that right now. That will look really, really bad if the breakdown continues. But the buying op is still here even. So you can see how the sellers don't really, I mean, they do have it on the near term. It's clear and obvious. On the daily, they've got it. On the weekly, they've got it. On the intraday, they've got it. They've got it across all time frames. Now they have to walk through the door. Now that they've gotten this, the bears need or are anticipating lower lows. The 4-year cycle market bears are anyways. They're already tooting their horns. They're already, I told you so-ing. You know what I mean? They're already being like, told you so. Can't get bullish yet. But I mean, I can see where they're coming from. The 4-year microcycle theory has worked every single time. And until it doesn't, like, it's a bet to go against it. But I think they're a little early to count their chickens. It's not over. It is over for me in terms of looking for longs on the near term. But it's not over for the long-term buyers. They may show up at any random price. It's going to take a catalyst, most likely. Some kind of catalyst to get them bulls fired up. Once you get the catalyst and you get the bulls fired up, and then you see a breakout type of move or something like that, and then a 50 support test again, if that holds, then more demand will start to show up. As at least you can say on the daily time frame, your trend has shifted back to positive. As of right now, the trend has shifted back to negative because you lost it there. And you've gotten 2 days of downside continuation, which is why I can't argue against the bearish narrative right here, right now, today. It is at a potential level of support, but the narrative right now is weak. It's very weak. So the bulls are going to have to show up randomly, and I would wait for that before I would start to get really uber bullish again. All right, because this is right back into extreme fear. So the bears have it. They once again have everything they need to walk it right through that door being fresh yearly lows. There should be nothing stopping them from doing that now. Nothing should stop them. They have everything they need. I'm even a seller now, again, on the near term. As long as the dollar is sideways to up. If the dollar breaks down here this week and then starts a trending move lower, I will be right back to looking for longs on Bitcoin. I think this is what's keeping Bitcoin from breaking. I truly do. I truly do. This is a daily time frame. They got above the 50. They could not produce a trending move, though. Obviously, moving averages are not helpful in a sideways market. These are trending averages. They show you when a market is trending and how aggressive it is trending. But still, weak dollar, I would be bullish Bitcoin. Then this looks like it's going to shape up to be a bearish engulfing. I am so pissed that I missed that trade. We were even looking at it literally 5 minutes, 10 minutes before it broke down. USD JPY turned into a bearish engulfing. It was a bullish engulfing almost. Now it's a bearish engulfing. This is at the 786 retracement. So it is where we anticipated that the bears would show up. But being that the premiums are paying the longs, not the premiums, but the funding fees or the rollover rates, is they're called in Forex. They're called rollover rates, not funding fees, but it's the exact same thing. It's a little different because the rollover rates are priced based in Forex on width of yield curve spreads instead of difference between spot price. So like that's how funding rates are associated in crypto. They open up a perpetual swap or a perpetual future swap, which has no expiration. And then the funding fees are dictated based on the spread between spot price and the futures price. So if the futures price is higher than the spot price, then usually that funding will shift to try to provoke selling pressure because they want to keep the futures price and the spot price at parity. Same thing can be said for futures or Forex, but instead of that every 8-hour funding fee, because there is no real spot market on currencies. There's a futures currencies market, but no spot market. So they use the interest rates of said government as what dictates the funding rate. And since the spread is so wide on USA versus Japan out here on the near term, this spread dictates how expensive or how prosperous it is to open positions. So in order to get sellers more interested in shorting the yen, the BOJ needs to hike interest rates. They need to get the spread up. Because right now it's still super conducive to be long dollars versus yen. But they haven't done it. And they can't do it because their yields are exploding. The long-term yields are exploding. So they kind of have they're in a bad spot. You know what I mean? It ain't no joke. most governments are in a bad spot right now. This is why a lot of Bitcoin bulls are uber bullish, because money printing is coming, whether the government wants to or not. The Treasury, the Fed, they will have to print. It's the only way out. And that's how the poor get poor, because the Fed is, they're literally inflating your money away. And then the poor doesn't help themselves because they go out and buy lottery tickets and things like that. That's just another tax on the poor. Just, yeah, I mean, you got to invest, guys. Even if it's a little bit of money, you have to invest it. You can't just gamble. You got to invest. Have to. Investing is the way to compete with the rich. Now, obviously, you're not going to compete on a how much I have versus how much they have basis, but to at least compete. Like, rich people aren't losing money right now. They're making money. If they already have money, then obviously they're in a better position than you. But at some point, you can try to get in a better position by investing. And then on the good investments that you make, that's where your money is going to come from. The more money you have, the more money you make, because you put the money to work. I am eventually, just not right now, but once I feel safer about it, right? Once I have conviction in Bitcoin. I don't really have conviction in Bitcoin right now. I don't have any evidence to give me that bullish conviction. I'm a long-term bull because I like what Bitcoin is. I like what it can be in the future. I like its potential, right? But for that conviction to put like serious money on it, I need to see some things. Once I see those things, I mean, I do own a sizable amount of Bitcoin, but I'm going to put a large portion of capital to work in STRC, because right now it's not being used. So like, I trade with a very small amount of money because I generate enough returns year over year to pay all my bills, essentially, right? And then the money just grows and it just sits in an account, not doing anything. Now, some would say, why wouldn't you invest that money in a growth asset or whatever? Well, because I also have an investing portfolio. I already do that. So like at some point, you're going to generate money that's just going to sit there. So instead of investing it, I've decided to put it in STRC and generate a 10 or 11% annual yield. When I do that, I'll do it publicly. I'll probably start off small with like 1,000 shares, maybe 1,500. We'll see. But I need Bitcoin to at least be above and sustaining bullish rallies above strategy's cost basis before I can do that. So let me let you know what I'm thinking about here long term with STRC, and then we'll wrap this up. So you have a lot of money, you want to put it to work. Well, it's not a lot of money, but it's money. And it's just sitting in a checking account or savings account, not doing shit. So the whole thing is, when I buy shares of STRC, I'm giving the company my money. I'm saying, here you go, you can have my money, but in return, I want you to pay me 10.5 to 11.5%. Now, they can adjust the rates. But Saylor has already said the only way the rates get adjusted lower is if Bitcoin spends a lot of time in a bear market. 5 years, give or take. If Bitcoin's only in 1.5 to 2 year bear markets and then rallying more than 5 or 10% per year, because they only need Bitcoin to rally 2% per year on a 10-year basis. Not every year, on a 10-year basis. They can pay their 11.5% redemption, or they can pay. So that's what it'll be. But obviously in a long, prolonged bear market, those yields will go down. They will get adjusted. So I don't want to invest in the company or in the stock if that's going to potentially happen. And I don't need to guess. That's the beauty of it, because Michael Saylor is so out there with all of this info, because he is trying to generate a yield. He's trying to get as many people as possible to buy into that asset. The more people buy into asset, the more money they have to buy more Bitcoin. And then it creates this pump, if you will. Right? So it all makes sense. It all makes perfect sense, and it will work long term. As long as Bitcoin is above this red dotted line for multiple years. When the price of Bitcoin is consistently staying under their cost basis, they do have an issue. And I do not want to invest. And that is what you're seeing happening right now. This is the wrong volume indicator. Let's look at volumes. So we have seen periods of large volumes. This probably is more selling than it is buying, because it happened at the highs. So this is probably them selling. Strategy sells. They peg it to 100. So they also come in here and do what they got to do to peg it. So you want to buy STRC when it's pulling back, obviously, but I want to buy it on a pullback when that pullback is still above their cost basis on Bitcoin. So if I can get in at $99 or $99.25, okay, I'm good with that, because I know long term, as long as Bitcoin's doing fine, it doesn't even have to be doing good. It can just be doing fine. If it's above the yearly open, any year and every year, it's doing fine. Then I can generate an 11.5% return on that money and live on that. And it's also tax deferred. You will have to pay taxes on it. They're just deferred. Not gone forever, right? You will have to pay taxes on it, but they're deferred. So when I feel comfortable doing it, I will do it live, publicly. I'll go into the brokerage account, I'll buy the shares, and boom, we'll start this whole process of generating an 11% yearly rate on, say, 1,000 shares. Should be good. Should be fun. It'll work and everything will be fine. But I need to see bulls. I don't see any right now. So the money's going to have to sit there for now. But we will put it to work. I do believe Bitcoin is going to be fine. I do believe the Fed will have to print. And when the Fed starts to print, Bitcoin's going to rip. When Bitcoin rips, strategies, you're going to see STRC literally explode in volume. You'll see explosions. I did want to get these time frames down here. So there was a little bit of volume in March. This was huge volumes. April 10th, then April 13th. Like I said, I'd say that's probably a lot more selling than it is buying. And then April 26th. So from the 10th to the 15th. So that's right through here. April 10 through the 15th is when what? is when we saw an explosion of volume in the STRC, right? Look at that. Oh, happy days. So, yeah. Okay, good. Fine. Boom. April 10 through April 15. We saw, so my line is completely wrong. So we saw an influx of STRC volumes right through this period of time. I wonder why. I wonder why. You think it has anything to do with the daily 50? I'd say probably it does. I'd say, yep, it absolutely does. As long as Bitcoin is holding that, you're going to see an influx of volume in STRC. And it's just minimal now because this is all new. It's all new. Obviously, you're not going to have people invest in STRC when Bitcoin is in a downtrending market and in an aggressively downtrending market, I might add. No, of course not, because MSTR is a risk to Bitcoin by themselves. But if you are bullish and you are seeing a continuation of bullishness, then you will see funds flow into Bitcoin, thus creating more capital for MSTR to go out there and buy more Bitcoin. It becomes a fulfilling prophecy and then a feeding frenzy. So we were going to start doing that like this week or next week, but I needed to see Bitcoin hold this. It has to. And then I will add or start to get in. And then I definitely want to see fresh highs. Once I get that, I'm golden. I'll set in it and just generate a yield. And then hopefully the floodgates open, money printing starts happening, and then if Saylor can just capture a very small percentage of people right now that want to generate a very small 4.5% yield, if they start flowing into STRC because over time price has proven that it is working, it will be a time and price opportunity. Once time and price has proven that STRC is a legitimate way to generate a safe yield, not guaranteed, just safe, then the trillions will flow into it. Why would you put $2 billion, $3 billion, $4 billion of your capital to work in a 3.5 or 4.5 annual yield when you can put that same amount into an asset that generates double and even triple that every year? You will see it. It will happen. But first, it must prove that it can do that. And that's why I haven't done it. Because it hasn't proved it yet. But yeah, that's what you've seen there, an influx of volume because Bitcoin broke out above and held the 50-day EMA. Once Bitcoin breaks out above and holds the 50-week EMA, this volume is going to slowly, over time, do this. I guarantee it. It will just get bigger and bigger and bigger, and then that will be hugely beneficial to the spot price of Bitcoin. That's what we want. That's what we're waiting for. That's what we need to see happen first. So right now, you're not really seeing that take place because people just don't understand the opportunity that's staring them in the face. But once time and price has proven that opportunity to be a safe way to store serious hordes of capital. You will see serious hordes of capital rush into STRC. Any questions? But Bitcoin's got to prove it first. Spot price has got to prove it first. This isn't a good proof at all. This is not what we want to see. That's what the bears, that's the only thing the bears have, really, is that. I mean, longer term, the bulls are thinking of a way bigger opportunity. The bears, I mean, to even be a bear, your max profit potential from where Bitcoin is right now is 100%. The bulls are thinking multi-thousands of percents. Not no paltry 100%. We're looking at like insane opportunity here in Bitcoin. And the ground is already, the foundation has already been poured and it has already set. Now we're just waiting on the weather to clear up for the rest of the house to get built. And the weather hasn't cleared up yet. So when the weather clears, it's going to be great. Bitcoin will most likely boom. And I think that's what people are waiting on. I think I've shown sufficient evidence that that's exactly what people are waiting on. And then once again, you're going to see profit taking happen, guys, at and in and around big resistance levels. So when did you start to see the average volume scale? You started to see it really scale once again in May. We'll call it May 11. And then you drop back down to average May 20. So go look at Bitcoin May 11 to May 20. May 11, May 20. Right at resistance. Kind of weird that they're scaling in. You can be seeing volume can be rising based on selling pressure too. It doesn't have to be buying pressure. People started to exit as you were getting into resistance on Bitcoin, and the longer it took to break out above, the more and more selling pressure you see show up. That brought volumes to above average. So I do want to invest in STRC, but I want to do it once Bitcoin is maintaining bullish posture. And right now it isn't. It started to, but it has since lost that. Once it regains it, I will wait for a pullback, and then I will invest in STRC. And I'll do it live, publicly. We'll buy 1,000 or 1,500 shares. We'll see. What do you think about ST? Read that. Why the hell XMR is down so much? Wait, what just happened? Okay. So for some reason, my chat was lagged up. There are a lot more questions, or I would not have been rambling for so long. All right, XMR is down because it was a beautiful selling opportunity. You're pulling back into the month of May's volume weighted average price. And then over a period of 2 days, it showed an inability to break out and trend above. The same reason why you're seeing Bitcoin roll over, or why Bitcoin rolled over at the 200-day. It's the same principle, the same reason. Emotional money isn't going to give it much time. All right? Emotional money is not going to be very patient. So if you can't break out above this in a day or day two, then you're going to see people start to sell. And that's what happened. You couple that with smart investors like myself jumping onto shorts at the same time for the same reason, and then you get large moves like that. Now, I did not get on it, but we did outline the trade idea. I just didn't I didn't take it because, well, I don't trade during 1700, 1800, 1900 hours. I trade in the morning. This happened during the late New York session, the end of day. The markets were already closed when this rolled over. But had I been watching it, I would have shorted it. For sure. Absolutely. Absolutely. And it does look like the sellers have been more aggressive, at least in the last, 5 days or 3 days. They're super aggressive today. Yeah, I mean, that's why it's pulling back. It failed to break out. It failed to post up a bullish rally. This signal right here was bearish for Asian traders. The Asian session open. They saw this and they were like, oh yeah, sell it, short it, short it, short it. And now it's bleh, puking. It failed to break out and sustain a bullish rally. When an asset is bullish, really bullish, it isn't going to fail at resistance. It's going to break out and continue. When you have very serious buyers, you don't stop at resistance. You keep going. The best way to prove that is just go look at any AI trade, any of them right now, any of them. They are all ripping. Greetings, everyone says, yeah, I don't know how to read that. Good morning, Heath. Any thoughts on SpaceX IPO? It's supposed to happen in June. I think June 6th. You can trade SpaceX right now on some crypto exchanges. There's the perps right there. So it is trading. It is trading at $200 a share. I heard somebody say that this thing was supposed to open at like 30 or 40 bucks. I don't know that I would short this. There's not enough data to look at trending averages, but I mean, I don't need to look at a trending average. I can clearly see where support is, or where support is trying to hold. I'd say if you break that, you might see lower prices, but I don't know. It is the most anticipated IPO of all time. Of all time. It is going to be the biggest company by far to ever get listed. Also, I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but Elon Musk has set aside several shares, like a third of all the shares have been set aside for retail participants to get involved before the IPO. So if you have a broker that is participating in that, Charles Schwab is one of them. I can't remember which ones it is, but there are a few U.S. exchanges, brokerages right now that you can request SpaceX shares. You got to pay a fee, of course, and there's all this other stuff. But if you want to buy shares, there is an opportunity to do so. This is the first time ever that any company has really done this. It's Elon Musk giving retail a chance to participate in buying SpaceX before the IPO. But as you can see, you're not buying it at a premium because crypto companies have already begun to list the tokenized version on exchange. So if SpaceX were to IPO right now, it would IPO probably within the prices you see here. I mean, all of them. Obviously, there would be a gap down or a gap up, but on the when it IPOs, like at that specific time that it IPOs, there could be a large gap depending on where it opens. But right now, the market is saying that as of right now, this very second in time, The market is anticipating that they're going to IPO in and around 198 per share. And to be honest with you, it won't take long to get to $1,000 if it gets and is as bullish as some people think this thing is going to be. Now, obviously, if a lot of retail gets involved, and most, IPO is, there's no edge in participating in an IPO. None. You are in straight price discovery for about a year before you can give it a decent proposition ad or a value ad. Like, where is value? You need at least about a year, maybe sometimes longer. It's too, like, the beginning is going to be way too chaotic and way too volatile. So there will be no edges, but there will be trades. There will be people scalping it and everything else. Like, it's going to be crazy. I can't wait. I want to own it too, but I don't want to own it at rock top prices. Like, I want to own it on weekly RSI oversold. Yeah, I want to buy it when the best opportunity to buy a growth asset is, in my opinion. It's on a weekly oversold reading. I get that. I'm going to buy. I'm going to buy big. I think SpaceX has the potential to be the biggest company of all time by market cap. I mean, just look at what Tesla's done, dude. Everything Elon, not everything he's done. Obviously, the Boring Company's not doing that great. There are a few things that didn't turn out so good, but most of what he's been involved in has turned to straight gold. You have investment funds right now that started out with a couple $100 million that are worth multi-billions now just because they bought Tesla. Billions. Tesla has done 2 splits. It used to trade at $240 a share at range highs, and then it broke out, went on up to $1,000. They split it, ran to $1,000 again. They split it again. Life-changing money was made on Tesla. If you bought it in 2016, 2017, you're rich. I think SpaceX has the same potential. I mean, it's the biggest company that competes. I mean, that people are launching more and more satellites now than ever, and they will be into the future too. Like, there will be a moon economy in the future. You guys understand that, right? It will happen. It's going to happen as long as the aliens allow us to do it. Don't get me on aliens, man. Don't get me on aliens. I still haven't figured out how to accurately price aliens into the stock market. And neither has the market, obviously. Which is why I don't wholeheartedly believe in them yet. But I would say the day that you get the government releasing an alien body, the market's going to freak out. Oh my God, you mean that shit is really real? Yeah, I have no idea what the market's going to do. It could be good. It could be really good. Because imagine if the companies that if aliens are real, obviously, there's a caveat. The companies that have been reverse analyzing that gear, like, we still don't even know what is even possible. They may have already solved gravity. It may put SpaceX out of business. Bro, we don't even travel like that anymore, bro. We just teleport, dude. You need to get on with us. We just teleport. It'll probably be Northrop and Grumman or one of those defense companies that once they say, yeah, we know how to teleport people. We've been teleporting people since the 50s. That stock's going to explode in value because they're going to become the biggest cargo company on the planet. It's a joke. I laugh, I kid, but I kind of believe it. ETH is dead, says Joy Affair. I mean, it's not looking good. It's definitely far weaker than Bitcoin is in terms of just everything. Like, how close it is to those February lows, where it is in terms of its yearly opening range, like all of these things. The fact that it never did test the weekly 21. It does look rough. It does look rough. There for a long time, it couldn't even breach February's highs. Like, it finally did here. But I mean, it didn't. That's February's high right there. It just couldn't do anything. It doesn't look great. You're taking out March 29th's low on ETH pretty damn soon. March 29th's low on Bitcoin is way over here and way down there. So it is a lot weaker. And then we don't even have to guess. We can just say ETH versus BTC. Yeah. Bitcoin has been stronger than Ethereum since August of 2025. Consistently stronger. It does not look good. I don't know why. I think Bitcoin is the crypto. It's the only one. I don't think Tom Lee's going to be able to do with Ethereum what Michael Saylor has done with Bitcoin. However, I could be wrong. If there is a legit use case for Ethereum into the future, then Ethereum will survive. It definitely doesn't look good when the founder of Ethereum is selling his Ethereums. Not a good look. I promise you that. Now, businessmen usually do sell. They have to at some point. So, I mean, maybe that's all it was. But, yeah, it's still not a good look. I don't know what's up with it. It's just the whole crypto market is dead. You lost a lot of retail volatility, a lot of retail volume. Retail ran to Kalshi and those other companies so they can bet on Kim Kardashian's lunch for the day. That's what people would rather trade, then so be it. Isn't Hype, ETH, XRP, and Solana looking rough? And then there's Hype. Well, Hype is definitely beating them right now, but that can just be because of momentum. I mean, obviously, I mean, they have a good, the fundamentals are good. We've been talking about Hype for a long time. I told you that Hype was worth, give or take, about $60 per coin, given on just like based on the fact that they take trading profits and go buy. It's like this. It's like a stock buyback, right? They do that. It's a good, solid pumpamental. And it ultimately worked. You made it to $60. You're seeing it pull back. I would have also, had I bought it at, I don't know, $20, $25. That's a 3x. Sure. If I felt like it was worth $60, I would definitely sell at 60. I wouldn't be looking for a short at 60 because now that you have started this epic short squeeze, it could continue. It could literally continue. So I'm not interested in a short, but I never could get involved in. I never got in when their opportunity was best to do so, if that makes sense. I didn't honestly believe that it would go up there anytime this year. But there it is. Yeah, it looks fantastic. On GDXJ. Oh, I mean, yeah. On that, you can short it wherever you want to short it. So, like, I mean, I don't understand what you're asking me. Is the daily supply a good short? I mean, I don't know. I don't know what price will do. You can short it at the weekly open or at a supply level, or yeah. I didn't read that. I'm sorry. I wasn't insinuating that you were going to sell at support. I was just simply saying I would not sell at support. I would wait for like a week open. Where is your daily supply though? I mean, I said short entry at daily supply. Are you calling this daily supply? Or are you calling this up here daily supply? It held yesterday at daily supply. That is a valid daily supply. As you broke down post and pre-market. If you were looking at this on like a 4-hour chart, you would see the supply. Bam, bam, bam. So, yeah, clearly. It could hold. But I would rather get it up around the weekly open. But if it fails after liquidation at 116, you could potentially short it there. You just want to continue to see the averages hold as resistance. That's what you're going to be looking for in the future. That's it. Like, it's that simple. If you retest the 21 and it holds as resistance, you would be a seller. At an objective level, not the moving average price, but at an objective already proven price. So yeah, I mean, you can figure out where and why to sell. The averages look good for the sell. As long as resistance is holding in and around 120. Yeah. DXY week today, boss. Yeah, I'm not anybody's boss. I do not employ anybody. But yeah, it's looking pretty bad. That's good, but it's still in a range. It hasn't done anything. It could just as easily bounce here today and go right back up here tomorrow. That's the unfortunate thing about ranges. We want them to break, but until they do, we really don't know what's going on. I still like it to the downside if the Fed cuts, or even if the Fed doesn't cut, if they print. I still like it lower. This is bearish structure, and until the bearish structure is broken, I have to be more bearish. Depending on the time frame will depend on the structure. Obviously, one could argue your bearish structure has broken here. I would say no, it didn't. I would say it built in a range just above bearish structure and failed. But it needs to get back down in here. Then we can watch this price for resistance. But so far so good. I do like that look. For a Bitcoin bounce, then I would like to see the dollar moving up. For sure. Looks good. Monthly morning star too on yeah, you can't just say stuff like that, Tom. You know I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about. Prior month candle body midpoint is just below monthly close. Wait, what? Also, the prior month. Oh, you're probably talking about strategy. I don't see a morning star. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. So generally, monthly morning stars are going to be all by themselves and bullish at the bottom of a range. Evening stars are at the top, but I don't really care about. I don't call out morning stars and things like that because that's just that's just more info that retail doesn't need to learn. All you need to do is you need to be able to look at price in relation to prior week and prior month highs and lows to be able to dictate trend direction. That's literally it. If you can do that, you don't need to know what the yearly trend is doing, what the 10-year trend is doing. If you're going to be a scalper, none of that matters. If you can clearly see that price is trending under last month's low, therefore I am a seller, you will be fine. Price is trending above last month's high, therefore I am a buyer. Obviously, you're not going to win every trade, but at least if you can dictate trend direction, you'll be fine long term. You'll hone your edge and you will make it. I believe that wholeheartedly. So you don't need to remember all of the different hundreds of names that people have applied to candlestick formations. There's only 3 candles that you need to know: inside, outside, and trending. Those are the only 3 candles that are made on a price chart, period. Like Morning Star and 3 driving crows and there's so freaking many that my brain doesn't even know where to start. Inside, outside, trending. That's the only 3 kind of candles there are, period. This is an outside, this is an inside, and this is a trending. And trending can be either higher or lower. That's it. That's all there is. Inside, outside, trending. When you can accurately see that, you will be fine. This is an outside candle. And then the very next one turned into a trending candle. This one right here is an inside candle. That's it. That's all there is. There is no other kind of candle. Therefore, it makes it a little bit easier for us to find opportunities. There's also quarterly res, Q1 midpoint, act as res. CME had a gap at 82K that got filled. I haven't looked at CME gaps all week. Bitcoin always dumps on a Thursday. I would have to look into that. I don't know how accurate that is. We can find out just by looking at a couple of prior Thursdays. Okay, right there. I would argue that falls apart what you just said just going into last week. Be careful on using the word always, as always implies always. And I made it literally 1 week before your always did not. You did not sell off last Thursday. You closed up. It was an up trending day. Friday, it sold off. But still, Thursday looked fabulous at the close. I'm just messing with you, dude. Just messing with you. Good morning, Wood. YouTube ads kicking my butt. Well, sign up for premium, I guess. I don't know what to tell you. I hate them too. I can turn off monetization. It's not like I make any money doing it. I'm not the one inserting ads. They are. I don't use mid-range or mid-roll ads. I never apply them. I do not ever serve you guys a commercial. Never. I don't think it makes enough money to even worry about it. So it's purely YouTube. I could turn off monetization. I have no problem with doing that, but they're still going to serve you ads because I have many videos that are unmonetized and those still serve ads. They are going to serve ads. it was a big controversy a couple years ago because used to, if you don't monetize your channel, then people would not be served ads. And then YouTube made send it to all creators, whether you were on their payroll or not. You got an email basically that stated that in the future that YouTube was going to serve ads to everybody, regardless if your channel was monetized or not. It started a big controversy because it's not fair, right? To people who aren't monetized or who aren't a YouTube partner, because essentially YouTube is making money off of those smaller channels' content when the smaller channel isn't receiving anything for it, because YouTube's whole partner program is you got to do certain things to even be considered a partner. I don't know if those things have changed or anything, but like, I really don't have control over ads. I could demonetize the channel or turn off monetization. I have no problem doing that. But you're still going to get them. There's no point. There's no point. Can't do anything about it. I know if you sign up for premium, you don't get ads. I don't have a premium YouTube membership, but other people have told me if you sign up for premium, you don't get ads. I don't know how much premium is either. I used to have YouTube cable, but that's different. I still got YouTube ads when on the YouTube platform. So what if aliens are real? New prawn genre? Probably. Absolutely. I mean, if they're down with that, I'm sure someone will ask. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. It will be a dude first. Just like it will be a dude that first has relations with a robot, it will be a dude that first has relations with an alien. Yeah, that's if it hasn't already happened. It is so crazy, man. But I mean, the government has not come out and said that aliens are real. The government has not even come out and said that UFOs or spaceships are real. All they have said is there are things that are flying in our skies that is a national security that we don't know what it is. So kind of leaves you at the whole, it's a balloon thing. I've seen plenty of those videos because I'm a huge fan if aliens are real. I have no idea what it's going to do to everything because I'm a Christian and all that stuff. I don't even know what's going to happen, but it's an exciting time to be alive. I can say that. Very exciting. Very exciting. I love it. Imagine if they're real. What kind of implications is that going to have for the world? Like, are aliens nice or are they dicks? Like, are there dickheads? Are there nice guys? Like, what? Obviously, they're way more technologically advanced than we are if they're freaking here and if they're real. So obviously, we don't want to pick a fight with them. I'm sure Trump will. Ether, fine. I'm just whining about YouTube has turned up the volume on the last week. You're good. I don't know what I had an idea because you're right. It did it to me too. It does it to me. I couldn't even watch a live stream the other day on my Fire Stick. Every time I tried to turn on a live stream on the Fire Stick, it would just play 2 seconds and then stop. But I did notice that every like 3 minutes, I would get, even though it's a live stream, I would get sent to an ad break. I think it's because they might have updated their code or something. Yeah, there's nothing that I can do about it, unfortunately. Used to, I could. Used to, by me just turning off the monetize button, that would handle the ads. There wouldn't be any. But that doesn't work anymore, unfortunately. Yeah. All right. So yeah, Bitcoin seems to be trying to build in near-term support at the midpoint of last month's range. That's the level that we're at. It's not a level that I'm using or going to be looking at into the future. Like, it's nothing. It's not really anything. I don't think you should take from the analysis here at the end of the day that I'm a buyer here, because I'm not. I'm not. As long as Bitcoin is closing days under the 50 or the 21, whichever one it gets above first, then I will be bearish. Because as I don't want to be bearish down here because we're at support, it's oversold on the 4 hour. There are a few reasons, but if you pull back up to last week's low, that might be a selling up tomorrow. You know what I mean? You pull back to today's open or today's high, that could be a selling up tomorrow. So I'm saying it could find support here based on last month's midpoint. You're right at it. Right at it. So be careful if you are looking for selling opportunities down here today. That's not right. Something is wrong. There's April 1. There's April's low. Oh, I need to go to April's high. Not May's high. That's the problem. Right there. Boom. So taking a selling opportunity right here today, right now, I think is not a good trade to make. That's it. But if it does hold, could be a long. It's just not one I'm interested in. I want to see Bitcoin get back above the 50 and hold that. I think it will be then that you start to see that demand show up in a big way. Once Bitcoin can prove that it is in fact in a strong uptrend. The 50 EMA is a strong trend indicator. That's the way I want you to look at it on the daily and weekly time frames. This way you can simply identify what trend every asset is in. If it is holding that, it is in a strong trend. So therefore you should look for pullbacks and trades in that direction. But yeah, volatility has completely retraced all of today's upside. So if it continues to make fresh day lows, I'd say it's just a matter of time before Bitcoin does have a slight bounce here. It is holding support on a 30-minute time frame. There is a large amount of volume that is building up here too. I don't know if what that's going to amount to later on today. I'd say if Trump comes out and says that there is a deal on the table, maybe Bitcoin can bounce from here today. But I will be watching what it does up here, and then ultimately I will be watching what it does back up here at strategy's cost basis. If Bitcoin gets back up here and rejects, I'd be okay with taking a selling opportunity up there. Also, it will be my directional bias will be dictated based on what the dollar does. The dollar breaks back under the daily 200, like strongly back under it, loses the 50 again, then I would probably be more bullishly or looking for longs on Bitcoin. Right now, with the current structure, Bitcoin is weak and it looks rough. And with that, we're going to wrap it up. We're going to wrap it up. I have more alien YouTube videos to watch. And I need to get something to eat. You guys have let me make sure that there is no new questions that come in. Bitcoin underside trendline rejection under old weekly res level 72.8. Hope it can hold. Yeah, there is a longer term trend line that is just under all of that stuff too. If you tag it to Feb's low and then here at March's low, you got a perfect trend line confluence to April's 618 retracement. But that's a little bit further. I guess if you lined it up with a line chart, it would probably look different. Not really. Not really. Yeah, I like candles anyway. It doesn't really matter. All right, you guys have a fantastic rest of your day. Make sure you guys trade safe. Make sure you trade smart. And as always, happy trading, everybody.